Yes. First, I would like to present you an overview about the change of the phenotype over the lifespan with a child, from a child with Prader-Willi syndrome. Hopefully you got an early diagnosis, and you remember the first nutritional phase where your child was very hypertone. You had a lot of sucking difficulties, and it shows a failure to thrive. So at this time, a gastric tube, you can see it even with, at this child, is very helpful to overcome this first stage. And then there are some months at the end of the first year and at the beginning of the second year of life where feeding is more easily, your child will gain weight easily, and everything works fine. And at this stage, I think it's very important to be prepared for the next stage or the next nutritional phase, which will start just about the age of 2 or maybe after the second birthday, where your child will gain weight more easily, at first without an increased appetite, and then later at stage 2B with more appetite. And it's very important to be prepared for this change, because if you are prepared, you can establish good habits early. And this is the same with the phase 3, where we know that the children are more interested in eating and organizing food themselves. We know from our own patients that if we can come in contact with you as a family at these early phases and together establish good habits, then that has also an influence of the later phases. And it helps your child not to become so heavily overweight. Of course, there are also other things which will change over the lifespan. We have a lot of endocrine dysfunctions we have to care for, but this should not be the topic today. And we have a lot of behavioral problems we face and we have to deal with. But today, I would like to focus on these things where good habits can change the future for your child. You know, up to now, there's no cure, but there's a good treatment concept, therefore. And the main parts of the treatment concept are, beside the hormone substitution, the growth hormone, the thyroid hormones, and even sexual hormones, are the nutritional management and the sport and physical activities. And there are a lot of things you can do all over the world which are good for the development of your child. And of course, it's always good to have a psychosocial support as a family, because sometimes the tasks you face to are not that easy. Let's start with the nutritional management. And let's speak about the basic of a Prader-Willi diet. In the first nutritional phase, you had a problem that your child has to gain weight. And maybe you overcome this with the help of a feeding tube. Then in the second nutritional phase, the children need less energy than their peers. They need only 2/3 of the energy of a child of the same age because of the low muscle mass and and less activities. So all over the world, a low-fat diet with plenty of vegetables, with complex carbohydrates, limited dairy products and animal fats, and only some fruits, and as little sugar as possible is recommended. When you start with mashed meals after the phase of having only milk, then it's important which food groups and which food do you introduce to your child. That's a big chance to shape your child's taste preference. So you see at this, in a lot of cultures, we have 3 main meals and 2 small meals. Sometimes you stay only with 3 main meals. That might differ. But what you can see is you need the vegetables 3 times a day. And we have 2 meals where vegetables fill the half of the plate. Of course, the size of the plate has to be adapted to the age of your child. And you also could see that it's enough to have twice a day some fruits. We have some milk products, maybe cheese, and we have grain products. They might differ all over the world. In some countries, there's more bread, in other countries, there's more rice. If you can take whole grain products, that would be nice. And such clear meals where your child know what he can expect are very helpful for your child. So it's good to have daily routines. And then it's very important that you do not use food for rewards. And on the other hand side, we should avoid punishment through food deprivation, because this arouses fears in your child. You need clear rules in all care situations. That means it's good if you tell these rules also in kindergarten to the grandparents, for example, or other adults and the siblings which might help you to care for your child. In a lot of cases, it's good to avoid eating in front of your child if it's not meal time for them, because that's a hard and a stressful situation for your child. Let's have a look at the plate rule. It very easy shows you what should be the right relations between the different food groups on a meal. So it's always good if you have vegetables, the half of amount of the plate, and have a smaller part of potatoes, rice, or pasta. It could be a quarter of your plate, and you have not every day, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, some piece of meat or of fish, and then think that the meat should not be bigger than the hand plate of your child, not of yours. And it's made it even easy to explain your child why he or she get a small part and maybe the father of the family get a bigger part. Compare the hand plates. Family meals are very important for a family. So the aim is that makes them stressless. Yes, and there it helps your child to have routines. All kids love routines. So it's good, for example, to start a meal with a glass of water and they cheers for everyone. So your child will be adapted to learn to drink water on the one hand side, and on the other hand side, something is in the stomach. Another good habit is to have my plate, my food. That means if my plate is empty, the meal for me is over. And I have to do nothing on the plate of my neighbor, and my neighbor has to do nothing on my plate. Children with Prader-Willi syndrome like second helpings, but it's good to define it very clear. Otherwise, you will have a lot of discussions for a second, a third, and a fourth helping. It's good to tell your child to eat slow and chew well. And it's always, if you cook for the family, good to cook tasty, but not too salty. Drinking water is a big task for parents. So on the one hand side, it's good to stay with water from the early beginning. The patience will pay off. There might be an alternative to use sugar-free teas, but please stay away from juice, because juice, if your child know how juice tastes, it would be hard to come back to the water. For every time the beverage vessel have to be chosen, and it might be fun to find her own cup, for example. Look at these nice bottles. They give children an idea, and you can learn drinking water like a play, that you say, for example, the turtle has to be out of the water at 10 o'clock in the morning. The pigeon has to be out of the water at noon, and at the evening, all animals have been out of the water. So it's more a play, and maybe it forces your child to drink water. And think about that children learn eating habits from their role models. And you as a parent are the best role model. So whatever is offered more often in a family will be eaten at the end. Maintain the plate rule, even if vegetables are left over. We should then not fill the plate again with pasta or potatoes, for example. And it's even good if the child see also the parents does not eat out of frustration or boredom or in front of the TV. What to do with sweets? If you ask the World Health Organization, then they recommend sweets not to start before the 3rd birthday. And sweets should be always XS instead of XL. That means should be always be very small. It's a good idea to, for example, collect sweets in a snack box and store the snack box out of reach. The best would be for every child of the family. And then your children, although the child with Prader-Willi syndrome, may take a small piece of candy from it once a day. So there's another possibility that he or she can exchange sweets, but also for small things from mom's tin, for example, stickers. And you will wonder how often the child will choose this opportunity. Sometimes even children with Prader-Willi syndrome like to help in the kitchen. Then it's necessary to watch your child carefully during food preparation. You have to consider which task is appropriate, and you should look if it's a stressful situation for your child and it's secretly snacking, or does he doing well? So if you see that it's stressful, then you have to maybe find another job. Scales are your compass from the early beginning, during the time where it's important to gain weight, but also during the time where you like to prepare overweight. And even if you think about the change from nutritional phase 1 to 2, it's very important to have an eye on this. So it's good to know and to ask for your target weight for your child, which should be in the next 6 months. It's good to wait regular to protect you from surprises, and it's a good indicator for gaps in the fence if your child is going to look for food for himself. Sometimes you can write it in a health diary, then you have a very good overview. Your child will be able to learn to choose if you help him. And from the age of 3, it's possible to choose between 2 things. So it's good to ask them, for example, if there's a birthday party at kindergarten, if your child would like to eat the sandwich from home, for example, or half a piece of birthday cake. And sometimes your child will decide in this way or in the other way. If your child chooses the cake, then it's good to take the sandwich and don't put it back in the backpack. Put it somewhere else, because then it can learn that the exchange is completed. If you like to find out if your child has a problem to stay with food alone, or if it's changing from nutritional phase 2 to 3, then the best thing is to ask your child. Imagine this situation. Maybe you have baked a birthday cake for the father of the family, and then you can ask your child, I have to hang up some laundry in the garden, for example. I want that this cake should be still there later. Do you like to leave the cake alone? Do you, or should I look the kitchen door for you? Or would you like to come with me in the garden? And I'm sure your child will give you the right answer for the moment. And if your child decides to stay with the cake, you will come back I'm sure the cake will be there and your boy or girl will be there like a policeman. Sometimes children need support, more support than others. If your child is struggling attracted to food and takes every opportunity to get hold of it, explain that locking the cupboards or the kitchen is not a punishment. That's important. It's a help. And it's important to prevent them from learning the wrong lessons, such as getting up very early to look for food. So that would be a bad habit which children can develop when they were when parents does not react to such a behavior. Now let's have a look at sports and physical activities. Even at this field, you can develop a lot of very good habits. It's good for children to include exercise and behavioral activities in the daily schedule. So maybe you can use pictures to create a daily schedule that's clearly visible to your child what should be happened. This should also include daily exercise routines and therapies. And our child is not surprised and has an overview what will be happen to them. Try to walk wherever it's possible. And do not take any stairs, any elevator.
Be aware that you have 5 minutes more.
Okay, thanks. Children with Prader-Willi syndrome have less muscles and a low muscle tone. So good exercise habits are very important to create muscles and to become a better muscle tone. So because the children has a high risk of orthopedic problems. The good news is that your child will be able to build up muscles. Some ideas how you can prevent orthopedic problems. If you have a small child, offer them often as possible the prone position to play, because that's much more safe than sit up for a child which is not able to sit up on their own. According to this, the kneeling position is a more active playing position and better than the long sitting position. So it's good to offer this position, for example. Give your child the opportunity to move around actively and gain experience of movement. You can also use such things to drive, for example, and look for parts of the day where your child can take actively part, maybe even the way to the kindergarten. We expect the independent walking between the second and the third birthday. And so it's good to, after this, to give the child a chance to walk wherever it's possible. Sometimes you need a lot of motivation. That could be a dog, that could be things you can visit, it could be things can be seen. You can help to come in a positive cycle of movement. That means if your child is able to create muscles, then it will be spontaneous, be more active than another child, and in the end, this activeness also will help to build up new muscles. So it's a positive cycle. There are some ideas how much time you should spend on sport and exercise. There's even the recommendations from the World Health Organization, and they said it's good to have 1.5 until 2 hours of exercise or activities a day for every child and even for every adult. So last words to some behavior situations. Children with Prader-Willi syndrome are very attentive observers. They have their own pace and need more time for everything. So it's good to plan more time for everything. That gives the child the chance to do things on their own. Familiar things give them security, and it's good to know that they need support to try out new things. It's very helpful if you're looking for a good behavior to give your child time on the one hand side and explaining things in advance. So the early diagnosis is a big chance to develop very good habits early. A healthy diet and daily exercise are the basic of therapy. Use routines because all kids love routines, and for children with Prader-Willi syndrome, they are very important. Take advantages of the opportunity to shape your child's taste. Start with the right food. Establish exercise routines in your daily program. Weight your child regularly and keep an eye on your target weight, so together you become a healthy and active family. Thank you so much for your attendance.